everyone. I'm Darieth Chisolm. Welcome to Hustle and Heart TV. The Golden Arches. McDonald's. Now, that's a name and a brand we all recognize and love. So what does it take to own and operate a McDonald's, let alone 13 of them? I sit down with two sisters, Melissa and Michele Rice, who own 13 McDonald's here in the Pittsburgh area, and we talk the business of burgers as well as keeping balance. Their story up next on Hustle and Heart TV. Like so many entrepreneurs, I'm drawn to the glamorous, gorgeous, larger-than-life, iconic ideas and outcomes that represent success. I'm amazed at just what it takes to truly be a standout, a rock star, a millionaire, a trendsetter. It ain't easy, but somebody's got to do it. So why not you? I know it takes hard work and hustle to make things happen, but I also believe it's a matter of heart. We can manifest our greatest desires with a little less sweat equity and a little more divine guidance, plus be equally inspired by someone else's life story. I'm Darieth Chisolm. I'm here to help you unleash, unlock, and bloom your dreams in business and in life. I'm a speaker, author, entrepreneur, life and business coach, media personality, and video podcast host. Every week, my team and I uncover dynamic, authentic, heartfelt conversations to help you leverage tools and resources, make more money, live the lifestyle of your dreams, become a rock star, and love your journey. Michele and Melissa Rice, thanks so much for being on Hustle and Heart TV.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We are inside of one of the playrooms here at McDonald's where we're all set to talk about business, burgers, and trying to keep balance in all of this busyness in your lives.
Okay.
So what's it like running 13 McDonald's?
Well, it can be hectic. So, I mean, it definitely keeps you on your feet. You have to continually be thinking and innovating and changing.
So for me, it's tough, and we run business as a family. So trying to keep family and business sometimes is a little challenging, but you definitely have to stay on your toes. Like Melissa said, you're always thinking, trying to figure out how to get ahead of the curve and kind of make things all come together.
Now, as a family, of course, this business started with your dad opening the first franchise back in 1987. And since then, you've grown this not only just here in the Pittsburgh area, but you started in Akron, Boston, and moved those locations. You moved as you found locations, or should I say you found locations and then you moved.
Correct, that's right.
Right. So how did that take place? What's the backstory on that?
So actually my dad, he worked for a franchisee in Akron, and he had an opportunity to purchase a restaurant through a minority program that they had at the time. McDonald's was trying to get more African Americans in the system. So my parents actually, they cashed out everything they had, and we moved, we up and moved to Boston. So we were just in high school at the time. So that was pretty challenging. I guess we could talk about that later. But we purchased one restaurant there. And my dad always had this thing that he wanted to have a lot of locations so we could have opportunities within our family. So something became available in Buffalo, and we moved there. We grew to 4. And then from there, opportunities came up here for us to grow to, at the time it was 13. So we moved here, and through the process of 2 years, we grew from 13 and then a couple years later to 16. So we've sold some, so we're at 13 now. And that's pretty much the story of how that all happened. Yeah.
So literally moving from different areas because opportunity presented itself.
Right.
But as you said, I mean, really for a family, you all were very young and you had to pick up and move as a family. And you know, you talked about talking about it later. No, let's talk about it now. Part of this show is to really look at what does it take to hustle. Well, it takes a lot of sacrifice, even among the kids.
Right.
So how was that for you all?
It was tough, but we had each other. We have a brother as well. Mm-hmm. So we always had each other, and we're very close in age. So we kind of just supported each other. And Melissa and I, we're only a year and a half apart. So we were always in the same schools and kind of, like
Some of
we're
the
best,
same classes.
yeah, we're best friends. So I think for us, that's what helped us, is just being able to be friends and really support one another. Now, my mother, she may have a different story because, she really didn't have, like, she left all her friends.
And her family.
And her family. So she didn't really have any support. So it was pretty tough for her as well. But we just all kind of banded together and supported one another. And by the time we moved here, we pretty much had it down pat. So my mom would help with the kids because once we moved here, we had children. So she would help with the kids, we would work, and it just kind of all worked together. So that's pretty much how we did it.
And when you came here to Pittsburgh, as you said, you had 13 stores. You grew it to 16. You're now back at 13.
Right.
Was the vision and the mindset to have that many at that time, or were you? I mean, because that feels like a lot. I mean, one store, one McDonald's, but to think that you had the operations of 13 of those to manage.
Well, I think that the original goal was actually more than 16. That was the original thought. But obviously, as you start to acquire locations, the way of doing things has to continually evolve and change. And I think once we got to 13, actually, my dad was like, okay, that's enough. At that point, he figured out, let's get this, the way that we want it and stop here. But then there became other opportunities to grow the business even further. So he took those opportunities till we got to the 16. That's at 16, he was like, definitely, that's enough. That's enough for me. So with that said, it is definitely, it's a big beast. And you, like I said, you constantly have to be looking at the operations, judging the people that you have on your team. Do we need to take some people out? Do we need to add some people in? So it's a lot of thought process that goes into it.
Let's talk about that. In the framework of McDonald's, I mean, most of us, grew up eating McDonald's. Our kids are eating McDonald's. We understand it. We understand what it means to come in, order burger, fries. But the back-end operations of successfully running a McDonald's, because it's all systemized, because it's a franchise, is still very important to making sure that everyone's on the same page. How do you do that successfully?
So we, first of all, you got to try to find the right people and put them in the right places. And that's always the challenge. And we work together as a team. We have supervisors as well. And we kind of go through how each location operates, what needs to happen to get it to an acceptable standard, and who are the people that we have in place that maybe can make some of those things happen. Or it might be we have to find more people. People is the big challenge here. It's becoming a market where unemployment is at an all-time low. So we don't have the people coming in the restaurants applying like we used to in the past. So really just growing from within, I think that's a key point, growing from within and putting the right people in the right places.
Do you make that a mission of the overall company, is to figure out how can we take the best of our staff and continue to support them and allow them to grow in better positions?
Yes,
right.
Definitely.
And I think having more locations gives us the flexibility to offer growth opportunities. So I think that's one of the other pieces. Some franchisees only have 1 or 2 locations. So once a person gets to a certain level, there's nowhere else for them to go.
Yeah.
So I think having as many as we do, we kind of keep that growth path available.
Is the mindset, though, and I hope you take this question that I have in real fairness in this, and that most people, I would think, when they pick up a job at McDonald's, they see it as entry level. I'm going to make a few bucks. I'm a college kid. Maybe I'm a retired person. I don't see myself working at McDonald's for the rest of my life. And yet what you're saying is that it's really important for you to find key people so you can grow them. Is the mindset of those people who come in the door that of a long tenured employee, or are they in fact people who are just like, I'm going to make a few bucks, I'm in college.
I want to jump on that one.
Yeah.
So I would venture to say, because I spend a lot of time in the stores talking to people, that most people walk in the door just thinking, I want to make a few bucks, or hey, I need this to pay my rent, and I'm going to do this for a while, and then I'm going to move on to something else, bigger and better. We try to encourage people to look at it from the other side because we understand it from the other side. I mean, our father started as a crew person. He bought his first restaurant when he was 34. So we know the facts that you can walk into this business and you dictate your growth and you dictate where you go. If people would look at it more like that, I think that some people would find a career in places that they don't believe that they can find a career.
Not to mention just in that opportunity for them to grow within a store, but the opportunity to perhaps own your own McDonald's as well. And there's no better way as a business owner to be successful than to know all of the aspects of one's business, from being the person that's on the line flipping the burgers to understanding the back ends and the financials, especially if you're going to consider franchising on your own. I'd love to talk about that, because the number of viewers who might be watching or listening who have some aspirations of owning a franchise or perhaps owning a McDonald's franchise, there is a hustle that's involved with that. Absolutely. But it starts from the very beginning, as you said, even being on the crew, just to understand everyone's job. So we'll look at that. We'll look at the timing of franchising, as well as the potential benefits of owning a McDonald's franchise when we come back. Have you considered how podcasting and video podcasting can help you build your brand, influence, and income? Thousands of podcasters are enjoying the wonderful benefits of being able to closely connect with their audience, find their ideal clients and customers. And if that's what you'd like to do, I'd love to help. Schedule a free discovery call with me, and I can help walk you through the process of developing your own podcast show. If combining videos is what you're looking to do, fantastic. We'll have a great time doing that as well. You can simply go out to podcastingandyou.com to access my calendar and schedule a free complimentary discovery session with me. You can also give me a phone call at 305-320-8143, and we'll talk about all of the ways that podcasting and video podcasting can help you in business and building your brand.
Are you looking for a career that pays great money, working with a fun group of people? I know, sounds too good to be true, right? Hi, I'm Troy Miles of the Miles Group.
We will train you, help you get your license, even supply leads. No cold calling.
I've been here 2 years and earned 6 figures this year.
I love my job.
I love the freedom and being my own boss.
If you would like to work among friends, have a great time, and make good money, call us.
Find out more at tmilesgroup.com.
Hi, I'm Lee Trabosic, magician comedian from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and you're now watching Hustle and Heart TV with Darieth Chisolm.
So we are exploring franchising and owning multiple franchises, in particular McDonald's, because both Michele and her sister Melissa own 13 McDonald's here in the Pittsburgh area. Let's look at what it takes to own a franchise, particularly a McDonald's franchise, and how to make it successful.
So first you got to have capital. So if you think that a franchise is something that you want to go into, especially McDonald's, you have to do your research. How much cash is it going to take? What do they expect? And it's not an easy business to get into. So you have to have some type of either business experience or some type of professional experience. And they actually have you work through a program. So you have to get in a restaurant, you have to learn how it operates. And I don't recall the exact number of hours, but time-wise, I would say anywhere from 1.5 years to 2 years that it may take you once they accept you into what's called a registered applicant program to work through the process.
And is it called McDonald's University or McDonald's U or something?
So
like
Hamburger
that?
University.
Hamburger University.
So that's toward the end of the program. You have to go through, they have management courses there, and you have to go through that process. So that is part of the development course. And then you, like I said, you have to have the capital.
How much?
So upwards of around $750,000 or more.
For one location?
For one location, and these are unencumbered funds. So it has to be free and clear for one location, and then it depends on what location you're able to get. So right now, there's not a whole lot available. So there are registered applicants that have been waiting to purchase locations for years.
So let me get this right. You need $750,000 in unencumbered capital to begin. You've got
Correct.
about 1.5 years of a program to go through, and you
Right.
still may not have a location.
Correct. Correct.
And so why would one want to own a McDonald's?
Well, you know, I think that McDonald's has a great program. They have great support when it comes to marketing, when it comes to training, just in general. It's a great system. It's been around for 60 years. So it's a great business to be in. And there is opportunity for growth out there. So you can start with one location and grow to many locations. I mean, as is our story. So I just think it's a great opportunity.
And in many cases, it is a proven system. There's,
Absolutely.
You know, and so the cost, of course, the time, the energy, and then the waiting is all worth doing because everybody knows those golden arches.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And of course, that is, I would assume, the reason why people would say, yes, a McDonald's franchise is worth waiting for. But as a business owner, as someone who has the mindset of an entrepreneur, and many of us wear multiple hats and we're constantly scurrying for activity, what would you suggest that someone do if they've got to wait before they get their location, if they've been through this process?
Well, I think the big thing for anyone, and especially if you're coming in as a registered applicant and you have not worked in the restaurant, is to get as much experience on how things build upon each other. Like, for instance, when you made that comment, it's probably valuable to start at the beginning and kind of get all the building blocks. I think that is the most important thing in operating a franchise. You have to understand how each piece fits into the next in order to make it successful.
Because it's important to understand, as you said earlier, that the most important ingredient in all of this are people.
That's right.
And when you understand what they do day in and day out, and you can relate to that, that opportunity gives you the opportunity, of course, to know all of the components of going into each of the jobs, which as a whole makes a successful store. Should you just aspire to have one, or is it in fact more advantageous from a financial standpoint to own multiple locations?
It's from a financial standpoint, it's better to have more than one. Now there is a sweet spot, so it's not necessarily better to have a lot of locations, but there is a sweet spot where I think you can make more money if you concentrate on the operations and the people perspective. So once you get to, you know, our number, you got to kind of look at, what do I have? Are they great locations? Are some okay, or some, you know, maybe I don't necessarily need because they're not helping the overall picture. So you have to make those calls.
So let's dig into this a little bit though, because you said that yes, it does make sense to have more than one, and then there's a sweet spot. But why more than one? And what is that number? And what makes it sweet?
So you definitely have to have more than one, because from a financial perspective, it's just not sustainable unless you don't have any debt on the restaurant. So, but most people would have debt because you're constantly reinvesting back into the business. So you have to have more than one. As far as the sweet spot, it's kind of hard to say. It depends on the sales volume. It depends on the cash flow. It depends on the efficiency of the restaurant. It just depends on, you know, what your locations have. But there is a sweet spot, and everyone needs to find out what that is for themselves. So it's kind of hard to quantify that.
How did you determine that? I mean, you had 16 stores. You all have scaled back to now 13. Was that a part of trying to recognize what the sweet spot was, or is it given the? I mean, you just realized, wait a second, 3 more stores literally is tipping us over.
Right. So yeah, we kind of looked at where all our stores are, and most of them are in the South Hills. So that's our nucleus. And so some of the ones that we sold were low volume. They needed major reinvestment, and they weren't in our nucleus. So we had, like, you know, our people, our supervisors traveling far distances. We had to put resources into those restaurants. So we just kind of looked at, okay, this is our picture. What do we need to concentrate on? And that's how we determined that we were going to sell the 3 that we sold.
That's a lot of work, though. When I think about 13 locations, do you travel to each of the locations every day, or how does that work, and how do you balance one another in making sure that your roles and responsibilities are clearly defined as it relates to balancing your own life?
Well, one thing I would say is we have been operating the restaurants for probably about 3 years, 4?
4 years, yeah.
Without my father daily in the picture to some degree. And I think we're constantly evolving and changing and, okay, this did work, okay, this didn't work, okay, what should we try next? You know, we're still in that place where it seems like, okay, we'll try something for a period of time. We're like, okay, I don't think that's quite working the way we need it to, so what do we need to change? I will say that I'm overall in charge of operations of our business. She basically is in charge of the people and the administrative part of our business. She might stop at stores just to kind of shop them and see what's going on. I'm pretty much in the stores on a daily basis. And so trying to divide that time up is always, what are the stores with the biggest opportunities? That's where I focus my attention.
So we divide and conquer, basically. We collaborate, so we both know what's going on.
Yeah.
And we kind of feed off of each other. So we both, you know, identify what are our strengths and where do we maybe have our weaknesses, and we kind of balance off of each other.
I would think it's somewhat interesting growing the traffic that you need to a particular store. And I guess only because in my mind, you're not marketing a brand that people don't know. I mean, everybody knows McDonald's, and you know, they either want Happy Fry or a Happy Meal or they don't.
Right, absolutely.
You're right.
Absolutely, right.
Because it's either I want a Big Mac or I want something else.
Right.
And no matter how much marketing that goes on nationwide or even locally, the mindset around when you choose to eat McDonald's and don't, how do you get people through the door based on that?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and I think this is any business to be truthful, whether it's franchise, the hamburger, whatever it is, I think you have to give people a wow experience every time they visit you. Because I can speak for myself as a consumer. If I go to a restaurant and someone makes me feel good about my experience, I'm more apt to, when I'm thinking about food, think back to the experience that I was given, even more so than maybe the food. So I think with McDonald's, the big trick and where we have to really focus our energy is on giving people fast and friendly service, which is what we're supposed to be doing anyway. It becomes more challenging as time goes on. So I really think that that's the thing.
That is a key, and I want to look at that and when we come back after this break, because you're right. It is. I mean, it's a Happy Meal or a Big Mac, but the difference is what people experience in the drive-through line or when they walk up there, and that has everything to do with the way that you manage and the people that you bring through the door. And that would be the case no matter what the business is. So whether you own a clothing store or jewelry store or, you know, a McDonald's franchise, it is people, it is service, and that is the expectation that most customers rely on. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, but we also want to encourage you, as you're watching this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's easy, just click the subscribe button. That way you can continue to do this, because I'm like, I don't know where it is, but find it please and click it. I'd be grateful for that. You can also head out to hustleandhearttv.com. Then you'll see where you can leave your email and your name, and we'll email you additional episodes as well. So we'll talk more about customer service and what it takes to have a successful operation when we come back. I want to give a huge thank you to all of our sponsors and advertisers for Hustle and Heart TV. Thank you so much for supporting the show. It means so very much. And I'd also like to extend an invitation to you if you've got a product or service that you'd like to put in front of our amazing audience. Simply request a media kit to look at the varying sponsor opportunities that we have for the show by sending me an email at info@dariethchisolm.com. That's info@dariethchisolm.com. I'll be sure to email you a media kit to schedule a time to talk about ways that we can position your product or service in front of our amazing audience.
When it comes to food, family, and tradition, Atria's is your dining destination. Atria's has a passion for food, and it all starts with our culinary trained chefs. From the made-from-scratch rubs and dressings to the best in the Berg crab cakes, Atria's prides itself in serving honest and real food. Come and see what makes us different at one of our 8 locations. We're now offering private dining, to-go, and full-service catering. Atria's, we're always changing courses.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sindrich.
And I'm Linda Nyman.
And we're the owners of Penn Brewery. And we'll see you on the next episode of Hustle and Heart TV with Darieth Chisolm.
we're joking and we're laughing, but literally we're talking about what's the answer? How do you balance your life when you've got 13 McDonald's and other expectations and kids and family? And yeah, it's, you know, Melissa, you said it's a tricky question. It's a tricky answer.
Right.
It is.
So how do you?
Well, I'm gonna let you start this one. So it is a tricky answer, and I don't think that there's a right answer. What I think is that you have to determine what is the priority at that point in time in your life, and you have to, I think when you have kids, you have to give them the time and attention that they need. I think that it's easy to get caught up in business affairs and all the things that happen in the business with people and everything else. But I think you have to be very intentional about making sure that you spend time with those who are important to you. And again, I don't think there's a right answer. I just think you have to be very intentional in what you do and making sure that you make the time.
Do you set boundaries and create like non-negotiables around your personal time? Or should you do that?
I think you should, and I think the older I get, I'm realizing that I have to do that, because when I haven't done it in the past, it's created issues. Now you have to deal with the issue. So I think that you do have to set boundaries, and there does have to be non-negotiables.
So with that, I'll give you a for instance. When I was in my 20s and my 30s, and we were hustling to get approved to own and operate our own restaurants, it was pretty much 24 hours, 7 days a week, it's work. I mean, that was the focus. As I've gotten older, at this point, my kids are adults. Some of them work in the business. I have grandkids. So
you have grandkids?
Oh yes,
we both do. We both do.
And so that's another aspect. And it was always just go, 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 go. And now I find myself, oh, you know what? I'm at that point. I need to take 5 days and decompress. Okay, my grandkids, oh, Grandma, we want to spend the night tonight. Normally I would have been working every Saturday. So I take days that are just mine. Now, if I get phone calls, I'll answer the phone calls. If it's text messages, I'll answer the text messages. But when it's time that I reserve for them, I spend that time with them. Unless a building's burning down, you guys are going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
But you have to grow into that.
You do, and there is a time in your life when you do need to hustle. There's a time where, especially in the early stages of anything that you're building, that there's a work ethic that, in my opinion, and as I've kind of defined this way of hustle, but that it really, you set yourself apart from what the majority would do simply because you're trying to do something that others haven't done. Exactly. Owning 13 McDonald's cannot be easy, and yet you've figured out a way to master it because you've hustled to make that happen. And yet there's a perseverance. There is a mindset of one who has this type of success that I think is priceless. What is that?
So I think that you have to be very tenacious. I think you have to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. So when things don't seem like they're quite working out how you thought or planned, you just have to keep at it. I pray. I have faith and I pray. So that's what kind of helps me through the rough times, and I'm just tenacious. I don't give up. I'm not going to fail. Failure is not an option, and that's the mindset that we have.
And what drives you, really? What is the why behind this? When you go to bed at night and you think, job well done, or you go to bed at night and you say, I can't wake up another day and do this. What is it that drives you?
My family. My father, he worked tirelessly, both of my parents, to build something for us, an opportunity that could be passed on from generation to generation. That's what drives me. My brother, my sister, my parents, our children, and we have to keep this thing going for the next generation and to keep that vision alive. So that's what drives me on a daily basis.
I mean, and for me, I think, there's a couple things that I really like. My father would always say, you always have to look at the big picture or the long term. You can't look at the here and now. So I always have this, if I dreamed something, I have to hold on to it until I fulfill that dream. And everything in my life that I've accomplished has been done that way. This is what I want. Now, how do I get there? So always start with the end in mind. You can't get anywhere if you don't know where you're trying to go. So, I mean, I think that that's the thing that keeps me always getting up and saying, wow, that didn't work. That really turned out badly. What can we do differently? And it also helps to have Michele because our personalities are a little different. And she's one of those type of people, her mind's always thinking of the next thing. So it's like, oh, well, that didn't work. That's rotten. So here's an ideal, here's an ideal, here's an ideal. Let's just get after it and try it. So, I mean, I think you have to have that as well. You have to not be afraid to change and evolve constantly.
You can't be afraid if you're in business.
Yes, absolutely.
And you certainly can't be afraid to try something new and different in spite of the failures that preceded it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, big message that, as we work with people, whether we're working, McDonald's or coaching or spending time with people and helping them bust past their fear into that next level of evolving, I think is so very important. What has been a major challenge for you? If you look back and think at something that was, you either lost at that challenge, since we're talking about failure, or you overcame it.
I would say the biggest challenge for me is has been balancing personal and business.
That's true.
That would be one of the biggest challenges. And the other thing is the people, having the right people in the right places. Those two things I would say are the biggest challenge. Do I have the answer? No, it's a work in progress. I think, as we discussed with anything else, you try this, see if it works. If that doesn't work, you try the next thing. I think that just having the mindset, like I said earlier, that I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get this right, and I'm going to keep trying and pushing and pressing.
So I'll give you an example of something I feel that we tried that didn't work. We actually, when my father turned the business over to us, we had an employee working for us that had been a long-term McDonald's employee. He had worked for McDonald's for probably 50 years. And, McDonald's has constantly evolved and changed. I mean, it changes at the drop of a hat. And so at the point that this gentleman decided to retire, he was actually supervising some of our restaurants. And then we needed to bring another supervisor into the equation. So we had to decide which stores, how do we spread this out? And I said, well, maybe I should supervise a few stores for a period of time just until, this one supervisor gets on her feet and gets, comfortable, whatever. And Michelle's like, oh, I don't know. I think that's a bad idea because how are you going to do that and then oversee everybody at the same time? And I was like, well, I think I can do it. Did not work. Epic fail. I mean, and it was because I was stretching myself in so many different directions that it was almost like at some point I could only focus on the stores that I was personally supervising, so then whatever was going on in all the other stores kind of was just going on. And so, we kind of came back together after about maybe 8-9 months of this, and she's like, this isn't working. Like, we need to scrap that, and this is what we're going to do to address it. And I will say that she was right. It needed to be scrapped, and we needed to start over from the beginning.
But it was a learning lesson,
right.
And it was one that involves, I think, what many entrepreneurs experience, and that is this thing of, well, I can do anything and everything.
Yes.
Right.
And the reality is we can't. Yeah.
Exactly.
But sometimes we have to learn that, right? Yeah, I know what that's like.
I learned it the hard way.
Right. When we closed out our last segment, we talked about just the value of good customer service and why that is, for you, what makes the experience of anyone coming to any one of your McDonald's important. So I do want to go back and touch on that point and how you create that level of customer service that makes one think, yeah, I not only want a Big Mac, but I want to go to that McDonald's.
Right.
Well, I will say that also is a constant evolving thing because our people are constantly changing. I think it does help to be in the restaurants as much as possible because when I walk in, I'm smiling, I'm upbeat, hey, why aren't you smiling? Hey, get that customer, make sure you're smiling, be polite, coaching it. You have to model it, you have to coach it, you have to enforce it, and that's the back end of it. Because when I get a complaint and someone was mean or nasty to a customer, I'm like, who is this? I want to talk to them immediately. What was the discipline? You have to demand what you expect. And it's a constant battle, but we're not giving up.
What does the future look like? You've got, obviously this opportunity to continue to grow if you choose to. You've got family that I would assume perhaps you're positioning into positions.
Right.
What does the future look like for you in business and in life?
So, that's an interesting question. So I think at this point, grooming our children that are interested in continuing on and owning their own restaurants is grooming them and getting them in position to one day, hopefully, we can retire.
Oh, yes.
And just enjoy life. I feel like, as an entrepreneur, your business is like another child. So you're constantly giving all your energy to that business. So me personally, I would just like to relax. I like to travel all around the world and experience different cultures and people and things. So the future is getting the next generation prepared to take over in this business.
Well, you've done a fabulous job in what you've done here with the franchises, with your family, with your business. Congratulations. We're certainly glad that we had you on Hustle and Heart TV. As I said a couple minutes ago, please share this, social media. Tons of people could definitely benefit from the incredible advice that we got today from Michele and Melissa. And we will look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Hustle and Heart TV. Thanks for watching.
The award-winning Savoy restaurant has become synonymous with fine dining, upscale ambiance, and a great destination for local and national celebrities to enjoy the night in style. The Savoy has won multiple Savor Pittsburgh awards for its delicious menu. Our wine list was awarded Wine Spectator's 2012 Award of Excellence, and the Savoy has also won the American Institute of Architects' People's Choice Award for its beautiful architecture and design. For dinner reservations and more info, log on to savoypgh.com.